To an insightful panel discussion. Our topic for the day is the digital content ecosystem in India and its impact on Indian economy. May I please invite the one and only Ron Crasto, senior media consultant on stage from Businessworld, founder exchange for media, to please join us on stage to moderate this session. So much, sir. In conversation with him, we will have Amin Lakhani, CEO, Mindshare South Asia, Dr. Annurag Batra, Chairman and Editor-in-Chief, BW Businessworld, Priyanka Khaneja Gandhi, Associate Director, Integrated Marketing, Communication and E-Commerce Marketing, Colgate Palmolive, Rahul Singh, Head, Telco and Channel Strategy, Edgio, India and SAARC, Vivek Malhotra, Group CMO and COO, Consumer Revenue, India Today Group. Saket Saurabh, Director, Entertainment, Sports and Music Partnerships, India at Meta. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. And would like to have a loud good morning here when I say good morning so that everyone is alive, had a nice, neat breakfast. So good morning. Oh, that sounds very loud and nice. Thank you very much. Thank you, team, Amin, Priyanka, Saket, Rahul, and Vivek. I think Vivek is not able to make it, but I think somewhere we'll catch up with him in a Zoom call. So I would like to start with a favorite Bollywood dialogue, okay, which happens in most of the campaign. Annurag, welcome, sir. Sorry to miss you. I hope you're doing good.
Yeah, I'm doing better, yes.
So, I will start with a favorite Bollywood dialogue here. This dialogue says, I don't fear campaign, sir, but I fear data. So, to start with this, we need to ask the whole panel the question in regards to how digital content ecosystem as a market, how viable it is. I mean?
How wide is the digital?
Viable. So the digital content ecosystem as a market, how viable is it?
Viable it is. Viable, I think Saket should answer. Right?
You should answer. You spend all the money.
Right. I keep wondering, and wherever I'm meeting up with people who are into content production, as far as OTT is concerned, my first question is that, how sustainable will this be and how long will this go? So yes, that's a very important question. However, I think the odds are in favor of really investing ahead of the curve on content, right? So today, if you see, the total OTT revenue is around 19 to 20,000 crores, right? 75% of that comes from AWOD, 25% comes from SWOD. Right? Now that's significant amount of money that is flowing in. And that's not flowing in just because people, generally it's flowing in. It's flowing in on the back of consumers moving to the OTT space. And unless you have engaging content which will keep them on that platform, there is no way that this will grow further. So from my point of view, it is the future. Also, the OTT content is not going to go away because it's on demand. It rests on the platform. There is a lot of repeat following. It's not like a theater that today there's a movie and tomorrow the theaters will pull out those movies and therefore revenues will stop coming in. Once the content is made, it can be leveraged over a longer period of time. So I think multiple things work in the favor of OTT content. And this investment actually, if you see, is paying off. Today, the industry is at 20,000 crores only in the back of great content that all of us binge watch whenever we get a chance or the opportunity to see it. So that's my view. But
Priyanka?
Let me break it up into two parts. It's a very big question. But I think one thing is for sure, we've seen digital consumption going up, right? And that's all because of great content available. And that's really fueling consumption. So the good part is there are lots of audiences wanting to watch content. So that's a positive story of growth. Also, we've seen great content, lots of original content coming in. In fact, Indian content has become world-class. Indian content is traveling across borders. Language content has become, big here. Now we are watching, people have become, linguistically more diverse. We are watching content in different languages. So clearly, there's a lot of tailwinds for this.
We are watching Pushpa.
We are watching. Okay, and if you look back, if you look at India, I think good thing about India is it's a market where everything is growing, right? So we're in a good space. AVOD is growing, SVOD is growing. If you step back, digital is growing, but even TV is not really declining. So I think there is a huge appetite for consumption and content. So that's good for the industry. Coming to the viability from the cost standpoint, I think there are 2-3 aspects to it. Of course, cost of content is high. I think there are lots of services available right now. I think eventually people will start making choices on, for what they want to pay for. And, so I think services have to find different models to appeal to different segments. Some of it is already in play, with some of the platforms offering a mobile only or one screen only. So I think they'll have to sort of customize offerings to expand monetization. There are already formats where, advertising monetization has started happening across platforms. So I think it is about monetization through offerings which are customized. More ad monetizations from an advertiser point of view, I think, we would like, more avenues, more value propositions coming from, the OTT and the content players, ability to do much more segmentations, data-driven stuff, which is the need of the hour for us. So I think these are the aspects, but there is growth of audiences and there are opportunities to monetize, and we're in a good sort of space right now.
Great points, Priyanka. Rahul, what's your take?
See, both of them have covered all the things. I just want to tell you that we need to understand from where the things are coming back, right? If you see 4-5 years back, it was the initiation of OTT, right? And post-COVID, there is an asteroid given to them. It has gone ballistic, correct? Now, what has happened over the period of time, the network, if you see 5 years back, technology, because since I'm coming from a technology side, I will tell you that the nitty-gritties of the things, right? People coming back home and sitting in front of the family, TV set, watching serials or any kind of content. Now, post-Geo and the economy opening up, we have our own TV set in hand. The 80% of the Indian population is having their own set in hand. And that has given the OTT platform to, come up into picture, and COVID was a boom to it. If I have to watch anything, I'll just open up my mobile and I see, okay, fine, let's go on Netflix or anything. Take an example of YouTube. This is a perfect example. I keep telling my folks, you will get anything and everything, anywhere and anytime, at any device, any content, right from 2 years, Cocomelon, till you go. If my interest is in technology, I can find configuration till marketing, right? So yes, there is a scope, rightly said by Priyanka, that we need to also understand how we are going to monetize things. There will be challenges, there are challenges, people are looking for a different horizon, how to monetize it. AVOD, you talk about TVOD, you talk about SVOD, the things are changing, and it will change. OTT is there to stay, if you ask me. And Indian subcontinent, yes, it is going to stay. We will see a lot of changes in next 1 or 2 years. Yeah, in terms of the content, in terms of the hunger from the Indian population, and India is a diverse country, right? People have seen that content over the internet have 10 different languages. So there are things, patches, we are stitching things together. It's very early stage. In the next 2-3 years, I think it will mature enough, and then we will see the right potential of the OTT platform. That is my take from technology and market space.
Great points. Saket.
Yeah, hi. Nice to be here. Thanks for having me. I think apart from friends on the panel, we've got 2 dear friends there on the screen. So hi, Annurag, hi, Vivek. Good to see you guys. Wish you were here. On the question, I think, I think the crux of the answer is in your question itself, Ron. Digital content ecosystem, right? I think the ecosystem is definitely going to be viable. I mean, I think Amin and Priyanka also alluded to this. I think there are a lot of drivers, and drivers can range from device and cheaper data and demographics and all of those factors, sort of the operating environment becoming better. So the ecosystem is going to thrive. There might be segments of players who might have a viability risk because they may have either over-invested or under-invested or not calibrated their growth strategy. So I think we need to make a distinction between ecosystem and some players not being viable. Point number one, right? The second is, I think the ecosystem, in my view, is diversifying. So while we tend to see it as an OTT and a TV I think there is the whole story of short-form video, right? Which we do, and we've been very successful at, and we take that as a great sort of privilege from Indian consumers. We know that Reels has sort of driven the short-form growth in India. And I mean, if you look at just the strategy of growth here, not only is short-form video going to be like 600 million Indian users by 25, time spent is going up per user. So it's very rarely you will see at such scale, not only is audience size growing, but time spent per user is growing, which tells you that there is a significant shift occurring in terms of how consumers want to consume. I'm not saying binging is going away either. So I think what I personally feel it's becoming an and ecosystem rather than an or ecosystem. We tend to think in 0 to 1s, but I think what's happening is consumers now have access points and contexts where they vary, right? And so monetization models are evolving. So for example, of course, like Amin said, AWOD tends to drive India, but you also see a lot of end user monetization models. And not just subscription, but it could be fan tipping, it could be merchandising. And I mean, at Meta, we're very fortunate we are building around all of this, right? And the third thing I think that strikes out to me, Ron, is that in the US, we just heard like streaming is about to take over television in terms of consumption. And we know that digital AdX is anyway taking over. So both on the media buying advertiser side, and Amin can speak more to this, and on the consumption side, you see a structural shift in terms of people not thinking of this as perhaps TV or internet, but more thinking of this in terms of video. Right? And at Meta, for example, I mean, more than half of our usage is video driven. And a great part of that is driven by Reels. So we feel like the digital content ecosystem is thriving. And I think there are multiple nuances coming in, and it's all for the good in the sense that the consumer just has greater choice. So yeah, I think it's highly viable. And probably we haven't yet seen the best. I think a lot of it is yet to come.
That's very positive from your end, Saket. Vivek, do you want to add your points from your end?
Thanks so much for having me here, and thanks Saket for waving a hi. I mean, besides Saket's look, I have perhaps copied everything from him, and keeping that tradition, I would mostly sort of reiterate what he said. But I see AWOD and SWOD both has $1 billion opportunities. And this is such a dynamic space that we don't know whether SWOD is going to move the AWOD way or AWOD is going to move the SWOD way. And then there is bite-sized content consumption. And add to that, while all these consumption patterns and consumer behavior is linked, we're not sure which ones complement each other, which ones supplement each other, and which one's going to replace what. So only time will tell. Different countries have gone through this journey. And, as everybody here is saying that, in about 10 years, maybe just this OTT platform could be as big as the entire AdX if, we deal with this correctly. However, having said that, India is a country that lives in very finely etched generational contours. So a mature audience, people like me who sort of now aged, may not have the problem of churn, and we may stick, whereas the Gen Z is gotten used to user-generated content, and their incentives to stick are not so strong, and maybe they keep coming back for a repeat or a relaunch of a new series, or say another sequence of an old series. These are challenges that we'll have to deal with if we were to make this dream happen. That'll be my sort of starting remarks on this.
Thank you, Vivek. I think it was quite fruitful from all of you guys. Like, when we were having a hurdle with Amin and Priyanka, they said one common thing, whatever eyes can see and whatever people can register is where we are looking at. So be it digital, print, radio, they are all here to stay and they are all here to survive and they are all here to support. But taking that in factor, I have a question for Priyanka and Amin. How do brands perceive in terms of ad spend in digital entertainment?
How do brands perceive? Sorry?
How are brands perceiving in terms of ad spends in digital entertainment?
If you look at the CAGR of digital ad spends over the last 7, 8, 10 years, I don't think we've seen a year where the CAGR is down below 35%. Right? So I'm sure this is only coming because brands are quite optimistic and are seeing benefits of being part or participating on this medium. Right? I don't think that's the question. The question is that, are we really maximizing the opportunity which is available in front of us? Right? Are we, is 35% a good CAGR to be in? It looks high, but is it good? Will this 35, 40% continue in the next 5, 10 years? What really needs to change if the CAGR needs to really achieve its true potential? And I think one critical unlock which is missing in the entire digital journey is the industry measurement. And I'm putting the elephant on the table. That unlike some of the other mediums where we have an industry-wide measurement, and that gives comfort, and that gives transparency, and that gives confidence to brands and advertisers to really maximize their investments on that opportunity. Somewhere the digital medium is still short of finding an answer to the industry-wide measurement. And the sooner we find an answer, and I'm not saying it's to do with one platform or the other platform and all that, I'm talking about as an industry, we've not been able to find that answer. The sooner we work towards it, and it is hard work, but all of us need to step ahead and really come and find that answer, because the sooner we find that answer, we will see a humongous unlock happening in the way brands will then participate far better, far freely than what they have been doing in the past. Right? So that's my take on where we are.
Yeah, so, we of course want to go where consumers are, and there are two aspects two key aspects to how we look at digital, right? One is democratization of access and the fact that close to 600 million people are there now. Digital has become of scale, right? So it is an integral part of all our plans, and essentially what are we trying to do? We're trying to sort of, connect and engage with consumers across the consumer journey. You would want to drive attention and move them down the funnel of consideration and purchase. So it's sizable, and therefore digital spends are increasing in order for us to, drive and reach higher audiences. The second aspect is, while it is becoming of scale, it also allows for, specific targeting, precision targeting. Data is allowing us to build specific segments on digital, which would not have been possible so easily earlier. So for example, in our category, for example, we are building out a whitening toothpaste, right? Whitening is the highest search concern in oral care. Most people are searching for how to whiten teeth. So we've launched a whitening toothpaste, and we are now trying to build it as a beauty brand and, targeting people who are interested in beauty, to get them to sort of start using whitening toothpaste as part of their beauty regimen. And while we are doing that, we are getting into specific audience targeting and driving people down the funnel. Some of these things were not possible on other platforms. So these are the two drivers of growth for us on digital. So of course, digital spends are increasing. Third aspect, not related to entertainment, but very relevant for, firms like us or companies like us, is also e-commerce media, which is proliferating, and spending is happening across all of that also. I think, so it is growing. I think there are a few things that can that can help us unlock, which are the challenges. One, Amin spoke about, is unified measurement. With more fragmentation, with people consuming different pieces of content, like Saket said, time spent is increasing. So from an advertiser standpoint, it's a challenge for us, right? How do you sort of, target the right people with the right touch points, and ultimately, spends are finite. So the whole sort of breakdown of it is a challenge. So measurement will help a lot in sort of, helping us get there. And unlocking this opportunity of driving digital more. I think the other thing and the second thing that's important for us is attribution. How can we sort of move people down the funnel and how we can track it. And we're constantly working, with all our partners to see how we can do that. So these are, I think, two unlocks. As we get better at it, I think the growth will happen and will continue to happen.
Fantastic. This is kind of evolution and evolving as we speak. But I would like Annurag sir to step in to ask few questions to the panel so that I leave this dais to Annurag sir now.
Yeah, I just want to make some comments. I have lots of friends on the panel. I mean, Vivek, my friend, and of course, Saket, and I got introduced to two new people. So I just want to say that, everything that needs to be said has been said. But I just want to bring in three more things into perspective. One is the fact that OTT content has been driven by cinema content. And the dynamics there are changing for what's happening in the ecosystem. Recently, a large OTT player cancelled a deal with a leading megastar for his latest movie. I mean, it is unheard of that an OTT player, and I'll come to why, what does it mean? So clearly the business model around OTT needs to change. Also, there is consolidation happening in OTT. So only large players that have deep pockets, players that are differentiated, and players that have a long-term view will survive. Priyanka also alluded, and Amin also alluded to the rise of the Indian language content, right? South content is one part of it, but beyond that, there is an OTT coming up in Bengali, there's an OTT coming up in other languages. So clearly, Indian language space will see more and more content being created and content being watched. Third is the business model. See, at the end of the day, OTT is fueled by content and technology. Technology makes sure that the content is being served to the right people. But the fact is, the business model, OTTs would earlier commission content, and I'm talking of big players. These days, they are trying to take ready-made content so that they don't have to invest, unless until it is something really spectacular and mega, so on and so forth. Fourth is, I must say this, that OTT also has a lot of content which is not really quality content. And a lot of film creators are dumping their not so good content on OTT because OTT was bankrolling them. And that's why you also see that some of that content is not flying on cinemas. It's not flying. The consumer has changed, the habits of the consumers have changed in the last 27 months. So clearly, OTT is slated to see some seismic changes that goes ahead. As far as advertisers is concerned, you have Amin here, you have Priyanka here. The monies in OTT are growing, but they're still very small. Of course, digital is growing. Programmatic within that is growing very fast. Digital, Saket talked about how ADX digital contribution is 20%. It is likely to be close to 40% in the next 2 years. So clearly, where the audiences are, money will go. But I think the money that goes into OTT is still less than it should be. So this is what is happening in OTT. My two predictions for future are, one is you will see the rise of Indian language OTTs, which are specialized. They're focused on a region, they're focused on a language, they're focused on a genre. Second is non-film content OTT players, which are very niche by definition, will also come up in a line with larger players. These are some of the things that will happen. You asked me to ask a question. The question I would like to ask is, what do you see happening over the next 6 to 12 months in the OTT space, which is so much different from what's happening now? And we are not, talking about it or focusing a lot on it. So I'd like to ask Amin, Saket, Vivek, Priyanka, and the gentleman from Jio, what is that one thing that is really going to be different going forward?
Saket?
You should take the tough one first.
From you, okay. To me, I'm not sure if 6 months to a year is a timeline, but the timeline is very near. The entire phenomenon of connected TV, which is emerging, thanks to Geos and Airtels of the world, which are really, really penetrating homes after homes. And, the way this growth is happening, there will be a time within the next 1 to 3 years timeline, and it could be anywhere between 1 to 3 years, right? That this penetration of connected TV will achieve significant numbers, significant penetration. And when that happens, the broadcasters, there will be a switch on and switch off of, how we are consuming or how we are planning for or how we are spending monies on TV versus digital, right? So I think that's an unlock which is waiting to happen. It is, I'll just share a small story right now, that typically the perception is that there is only higher level audiences or HNIs in India which are into connected TVs. There is a WhatsApp group in my society, right, where you can actually talk to people where you want to dispose of certain things that you don't want to use any further, to find the right kind of people who will use it. So there were 2 households which put up a 32-inch TV saying we want to upgrade, we want to sell this 32-inch, are there any buyers? 8 maids lined up in those households within an hour from the society stating we want to buy 32-inch color TV, flat panel LED TVs. The only 7 out of the 8 maids asked a question, is this TV a smart TV? And the household was, really panicked. They said, why are you asking this question? Said, no, my child is becoming big. If it's a smart TV, then I will buy, otherwise let it be. So I think the penetration, the consumption of connected TV, the joy of seeing content on a bigger screen, and data democratization is at display, in this conversation. So it is not only at the top level. This phenomenon is not going to remain at the top level. It is going to penetrate down. Data is affordable. Handsets are coming down. TV handsets are becoming cheaper. Smart TV handsets are becoming cheaper. And this will be the mode of content consumption maybe 3 years down the line, if not earlier. So I think that's one big unlock waiting to happen. I'm quite bullish on it, and that's where I'm seeing this space.
Saket?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think Amin made a fantastic point. I can't agree more. I think it also leads to the idea that you'll have a lot more measurement or programmatic buying. It'll, the whole system will become digital. So I think my sense is, again, to Anurag's point, I don't know if it's a 6 month, 1 year thing, but it's definitely underway. Is the other C, which is the C called creator, right? I feel like what we have seen in the last 2 years post-pandemic and with Reels is nothing but an early preview to a whole new content ecosystem driven by brands that are willing to behave like creators and build community and not talk down to audiences, and also individuals who definitely are creators. And you will see models around that, commerce models, AWOD models, or pay-per-view models, micro payments. There's a bunch of things. And then I'm not going into, of course, what's on the horizon, which is the metaverse, right? So I feel like the journey is already very much underway. Short-form video is perhaps the best way to access that ecosystem, but that ecosystem is becoming far more mainstream as a choice for brands and for companies that want to create value than perhaps it was 2 years back. 2 years back, it was a nice, cool thing. Now it's absolutely on the highway, is what I would think. So I think that's what we're going to see more evidence of that mainstreaming in the next 6 months to a year. So connected TV, and the other C is creator. That's what I would say.
Fantastic. Vivek, what's your take?
Yeah, very tough question, and expecting that from Anurag sir anyway. So You see, as I see this, and I think in about 6 months to a year, and since we also come from a content company, I think the fight, we're all going to realize that this fight is not a fight intra-platform, but it's going to be a fight of a billion screens. So we are all going to be outside there fighting to dominate those billion screens. And the screen-based entertainment is actually news or entertainment, whatever, is really transformed and manifested in various formats. So it's going to be not just an acquisition fight where I'm using micropayments to get my magazine out, or giving an ad-free TV channel, or maybe making cohorts and selling them something, but it's actually going to more be about retention, because as our lives get connected, our devices get connected, and our media consumptions get connected. And therefore, it'll require, and we will all be forced to think how we deliver finely tuned experiences, how we immerse better, and how we don't look at each of these platforms in isolation, but also look at what we are providing and how people are socializing that content. It's not, the fight just doesn't end at producing and delivering that content, but also goes much beyond on how people socialize this content, how people are finding new meaning in the virtual life. And it's becoming far more rewarding. So whether it's gaming, whether it's likes, whether it's your space in the metaverse, the virtual life today is becoming as rewarding as the real life. And therefore the challenge is going to be far bigger, and we'll have to fight connected, linked battles for those billion screens.
Fair enough. Priyanka?
That's how I see it.
Thank you so much, Vivek. Priyanka?
Yes, so everyone sort of raised some of the points, connected TV, creator system. So I'll just like to build on the connected TV things. Of course, it is bringing to life content in the living rooms, but there's an audience of what people say cordoners or cord cutters. So, increasingly the younger audiences and the premium audiences, will become sizable, and we are hoping that is an opportunity of growth for creators, content platforms, and as well as for us to reach audiences. The other two aspects, I think from a content standpoint, I think we'll see more immersive and interactive content. We've already seen some examples of, storylines being interactive and changing for different people, more immersive experiences. For example, Amazon has the X-ray features that allows you to engage more with characters, with storylines, backstories. So that's the other thing that I think will now take off, to bring in differentiation in content and using technology. And last, of course, very important from an advertiser point of view, we do expect innovation in ad formats and solutions for brands. Linkages to shoppability, commerce, that just make the whole ecosystem more viable for us to deliver our objectives, more programmatic way of reaching audiences, which will enable us to sort of use them more with precision and outcomes and measurement.
Rahul, your take, and what is Edgio doing about this?
So from a technical point, rightly said by him, connected TV. He is saying very, very important aspect is content, correct? Priyanka is saying ad. Now, we need to understand how we are reaching out to the users, consumers. So for me, if you ask, the next curve or leap would be the AI/ML. That is going to play the role, and it has already started playing the role. So, nutshell, personalization of the data. What you are, if you go on a YouTube or anywhere, you see that if you're watching certain content, you'll get the same content over the period of time. The people are learning. For her, it is that the time you start learning the pattern of the user, you put ads, you monetize it from there. And if anybody wants to add something.
So I would request Annurag to sum up the entire, delegates' thoughts, process, and give his views, final views, to sum this first, interaction between us.
What I hear is as follows. One is OTT is becoming mainstream. It is in some way replacing other forms of entertainment, whether it's cinema or other forms of entertainment. Second, there will be a shake-up in the business model. Saket talked about the fact that creators need to be factored in a bigger way and a different way in the equation. That will happen. New business models in terms of collaboration with content creators will come up. Indian language will grow. Advertising will grow. The phenomena of smart devices and smart television will ensure that the OTT becomes mainstream and the first point of content consumption or entertainment content consumption. While OTT has been dominated by entertainment consumption, we will see content in other formats also seeing growth, specialized content, niche content. For example, there are sports OTTs that are coming up. How successful they will be, time will tell. And last but not the least, the growth in the Indian language content ecosystem and hence Indian language OTT. It is still early years for OTT. There's consolidation happening and there is experimentation happening. So it's exciting time. I'm sure IWM Buzz will be able to do a 10th edition, a 15th edition, so on and so forth. The point I'm trying to make is that OTT domain is still in the early parts of its evolution, and it is only a bright future for all OTT stakeholders and OTT players.
Thank you. With that positive note, sir, we thank you very much, Annurag ji, Vivek, Amin, Priyanka, Rahul, and Saket. It was a fantastic session. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you so much, Ron sir, and all the panelists for joining us. Can we please request you to wait for a photo session? And may I please call upon stage Siddharth Laik, founder and editor-in-chief, IWM Buzz, to present the mementos. We have Mr. Franklin Toscano, founder, CTO, IWM Buzz Media, to give away the mementos over here. For the session, can we please clap for them?